everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with Jordan Bianchi, my coworker. Jordan, I was thinking about doing that in Spanish, but I decided I didn't have enough time to practice. And we are joined by a special guest to open the show. We are here in Mexico City with Ben Kennedy. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. How are you guys?
Well, I mean, this is a pretty epic weekend, honestly. And so it's really cool to have you on to start this because I don't know. I think I maybe thought I knew what to expect. And then you get here, you see it in person. And it almost like, I don't think I was prepared for just how the energy and the fans was going to take place. It was like overwhelming to me this weekend. What was your impressions of it?
It was, I think overwhelming is a really good word. I mean, I had a chance to walk around quite a bit, talk to a bunch of fans. And, I think so many of them, a lot of them watch our races week in and week out, right? So we have local partners down here they can tune into and watch Cup Series racing. But a lot of them have never seen these cars in action before. They've never seen the next gen car in person before. And I thought it was so cool to not only talk to them, but then see their reaction and hear them when the cars came around for the first time on Friday for practice. Obviously, when Daniel Suarez won, it was electric in the stadium. I was over there for it. And then throughout the entire race today, I mean, whether it was a start, passes through the race, passes for 20th, they were going nuts over. So it was a lot of fun to watch. And obviously a lot of new fans that came in today. And that's what these events are all about. We want to be able to create racing, great racing for all our fans across the U.S. and around the world. But we also wanted to introduce new fans into our sport, give them the opportunity to sample it. And I think we had some of that today too.
You're not supposed to root for outcomes, kind of like right? Your journalism, you're not supposed to root for things.
Yes.
But Suarez takes the lead late yesterday's race, the Xfinity Series race. Are you in the back of your mind? You're like, oh my goodness, this is like storybook. This is coming together in a perfect way.
Yeah, we don't cheer for anyone
at
all. But I will say it was incredible watching people's reaction to Daniel Suarez winning that race. I mean, they were jubilant coming into it. And as soon as he took the lead, like the place just erupted. And then obviously when he won the race, he got out afterwards. And anytime, even during caution before he won the race, they would show his onboard for 5 seconds in front of the stadium section. People would go nuts. They'd go crazy. And I thought that was so cool. And it's something that I think we pride ourselves a lot on. And if you rewind the clock back, 20, 25 years in our sport, you think about all the different, the different personalities and different rivalries that we had in our sport. And I think back to Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt. It's the best example that we had. But people associated themselves with either Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt, and you were a rival of the two. And I think it's beautiful that we can come to a place like this in Mexico City, where we've had a driver that was born and raised in this country, came up through our national series, has had success in the NASCAR Cup Series, and now they have someone they can associate themselves with. And we have a lot of that with many other drivers, right? Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. A ton of them have created their own followings. And now Daniel Suarez has an incredible following down here, and he gained even more fans yesterday.
I think what for me, Ben, is the takeaway for me is I think we get all caught in the cycle of negativity. This podcast.
No, you get negative?
And I'll raise my hand for that, right?
It's
a weekly conversation in the sport about what needs to change, what should change, what shouldn't have changed, what's next, what can be done, right? Rules, packages, schedule. You hear it all the time, right? And it was so eye-opening for me this weekend. Where we talked about the newer fans, right?
Yeah.
I was interviewing. I did an article on The Athletic about these longtime fans who were seeing for the first time. This one guy, he was like, "Oh, the next gen car is just so beautiful in person. It's just I'll never forget the experience of seeing the next gen." And I thought, wow, what American fans. We just don't. It's all this criticism and it's all this hand wringing, and you just take a step out of our little bubble and see the people that just were so excited. I don't even think that somebody winning by 15 or 16 seconds today mattered to them. They were so just jacked up to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a reminder of how it's a big world out there, right? And that's what you guys are seemingly going for with this international step.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I'm guilty of it too, right? We as a sport and as a company, we always want to get better. And we come out of the weekend, there could be 10 things that go right. There's one thing that goes wrong. We pinpoint the one thing that went wrong. And we say, how do we get better? Because we want to continue to improve. But things like this weekend, I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means. There were a lot of things that we learned, a lot of things that we do better if we come back here in the future. But the beauty of it, to your point, like you have so many new fans that come in and they see something for the first time, they get to experience for the first time, and then they find a favorite driver, they find maybe a favorite paint scheme or a number that they like. They start to follow them throughout the race, and instantly they're hooked. And you can see it on their face and their reactions. And that's, you get bogged down sometime in the day-to-day of this sport. And, we all travel week in and week out, but there are so many special moments in the sport. We got to take the time to appreciate those and recognize it, because it is what makes this sport so special. It's why we're all here. It's why we're in Mexico City. And it's why we want to continue to make this thing grow to the next level.
When you go into an event like this, is it nervousness? Is it excitement? Is it a combination of, this everything that can go wrong, and you're just in your head, you're replaying everything that could possibly potentially go sideways?
No, not a ton. I honestly, I had a chance to take a couple steps back this weekend, which was nice. So I helped work with the team to kind of get to the announcement, and then we established another group of people together to actually help execute the event, which I was cheering from the sidelines. I was supporting them, but we're putting teams together to really focus on building out these events for the NASCAR side. But no, I think the biggest thing for us is scenario planning, right? So like I said, everything's not going to be perfect going into it. We have to think about, hey, worst case scenario, how do we make sure that we're still able to put the race on, everything goes according to plan? And I hate to say it, you have to play with some of those doomsday scenarios sometimes. It almost never happens. But, as a planning kind of part of the company, we have to think through all those scenarios and make sure that once we get here, we know what A, B, and C, and D looks like. Typically, we have plan A, but if not, we have plan C, D, E, and F, and then down the food chain. Sometimes you have to pull it out of your back pocket. We're usually ready for it.
Well, we grabbed you on short notice here, so we'll let you get out on a question that you just got hammered with in the press conference. Will we be back here in the future? What are the chances we will be back in Mexico coming up shortly?
I have nothing to report, but I would love to be back here. No, like this was great. I mean, it was an amazing event, and I think I'm sure it looked great on TV. And I sat down for a while and I watched Amazon Prime's coverage, which was phenomenal. They're just killing it, crushing it every single week. But there's something really special of being at a racetrack, especially when you have a new event like this. And I would encourage people that if we do come back in the future, come to Mexico City. It's a beautiful city. We talked about the tacos. I've had
how many?
4 tacos. Yeah, four tacos downstairs here at the media center. I can't tell you how many I've had this entire
I had like 4 each day. I was here downstairs.
That's why we ran out.
It's kind of like the Martinsville hot dog, right? Like Martinsville hot dogs, people have competitions with each other. So I'm curious who had the most tacos this week.
I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. I'm obsessed with
the
it.
problem is the line's so long. You're gonna max out at some point.
So what it was weird because like Bill, I blame him over there.
I got blamed. Kyle Busch texted me and said that he was going to miss lunch the other day because I had tweeted about it, and now I made the line long. I thought the line was already long before I tweeted.
No, it wasn't. So the first couple of days, the line for the tacos was manageable, a couple minutes at the most, right? Okay. And then he sends this stupid tweet out. And then next thing you know, it's like the line is down halfway down into the garage.
Well, I walked past it 5 times. There was no one in line on like Thursday and
Exactly.
Friday. And then there was a tweet, and I read was it your tweet? I read your tweet, and I went straight to the taco line after that, and it was around the block.
I didn't let you come on here for you to gang up with Jordan. This is horrible.
I did learn there's a secret line though.
Yes,
there is a secret line.
Kyle Larson found that.
I saw quite a few crew members that found
that. I saw a guy like take out his he's got like a special identification card, some crew member, and he walked right at the media center. He's got full crew uniform on. Yeah. He like flashed it real quick and like hopped in line. This was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know about the special line at first, so I waited, and I think someone called it the Gen Pop line, and it was pouring rain outside. But I heard how good these tacos were, so I went through it, and it was totally worth it. It was worth it.
We need these every week.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it, and congrats. It was a great event, and we're going to talk more about it right now with you guys. So we'll let Ben go, and
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So Jordan, I want to. I got to tell you about this tweet up first of all. I know we're going to talk about the race. I teased this for you earlier, and so it was on the same topic. That's why I don't want to move on to something else first. I I had one of the best days I've ever had at the racetrack today.
Really?
Yes.
On a tweet up?
Yes.
I'm gonna need to hear more about
Yes.
this. A tweet up made you this happy?
I can't even tell you. Okay. So like there's all these different zones here and ticketed zones. There's 4 different zones and it's how they do it for F1. So you get your one ticket for a zone. You can't move around. So when I first looked at doing the tweet up, it was the one out behind the grandstands, and I got all these messages, and they're like, "Hey, we can't make it. We can't have access to that one." I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I told Bob, and this track is huge, right? So it's like, okay, we gotta spread out. So I decided to go to the second one. So unfortunately, the one you came to. We did 2 tweet ups today. The one you came to, we had 2 people.
That was humbling. Let me tell you that right now.
We had 2 people show up. It was you, me, Holly Kane, Bob Pockris, and then 2 fans, which we appreciate them coming out. 2 fans from Mexico.
Great guys.
But they had been also, by the way, they had been to tons of US races, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to talk to them, but they've also come to a lot of races. So I was like, oh man, well, I already said I'm going to go to this other tweet up down in turn 1, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll just go there and maybe nobody will be there. Well, it was the opposite, right? There was a huge crowd of people waiting. And we had this great conversation. And it was like, I think there was 4 or 5 fans from the US. And then there was probably about 20 fans from Mexico. And all of the Mexican fans were like pretty hardcore, right? Like, I mean, they follow a NASCAR writer on Twitter, but it was their first time ever seeing the Cup Series, like all of them. They had never been to the US for a race. And they started sharing their stories. And we all just got into this, we're standing around in a group and like the Americans are sharing their perspective, the Mexicans are sharing their perspective. And it was like this, such a cool moment. Like, look at all the news that's happening, right? Like all the protests and all this stuff and all the clashing between the countries. And I'm like, we're standing here and we're just hanging out. We're all just race fans chatting. I see Lisa Chana Na is right here in the YouTube chat. She was there. She came from Ohio. I always see her at Pocono. And it was just like the coolest moment. I don't even know how to describe it. And everybody's just sharing their experiences. Like these fans came from Southern Mexico, these 2 women. I posted on X. They had made homemade Denny Hamlin shirts. The front says, I just beat your favorite driver. And the back says all of them. They rode a bus for 13 hours to get to this race from Southern Mexico.
Wow.
And they were like so geeked out about it. They're like, oh, we can't wait to do it again if they come back next year. Like they hadn't even seen the race yet. And they're like, this is the coolest thing ever. We are coming back next year. Like, again, I was telling Ben, there was people, the fans were telling me, seeing the next gen car in person is so beautiful and amazing.
It's so interesting the perspective.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was so mind blowing. Like, the positivity around it. Like I posted the videos again, like people chasing Todd Gilliland through like he was Dale Jr. Yeah. They were so as this tweet up was wrapping up, again, I had a group, right? And so all people see is this card and people surrounding me. So then all of a sudden, these fans start coming up that don't really speak English or whatever. And they've seen, people are taking pictures with me or whatever. And so I guess either they thought I was a driver or I think they just thought I was anybody from associated with NASCAR. They were so excited to just be near somebody associated with NASCAR. I was starting to feel like, oh, I might need some help getting out of here.
Oh,
no. It was like, Lisa, again, back me up in the chat. We were laughing about it afterwards. It took me at least 20 minutes to sort of like wind down because people kept coming and like being so excited just to be near again, it has nothing to do with me. It was that there was somebody from NASCAR like right there that they could be like, wow, like that's the level of excitement that was here today. And it just blew me away. Again, we've thought all this time, oh yeah, the passionate fans will be cool. They'll be cheering for Suarez. Of course. Yeah, we saw that. But the amount of enthusiasm for NASCAR here today, and again, I think it was the same thing with Todd Gilliland, right? They're just like, that's a NASCAR driver. Oh my gosh, a NASCAR driver is here in person. These people have watched this racing Like I've talked to some people, like watched for over 20 years, only on TV. Imagine watching this. We complain about TV all the time. Imagine watching this only on TV for 20 years and you're a diehard fan. You finally get to see him in person. Like the emotion, like these people were like emotional, like hearing the engines for the first time. Like this one guy I talked to, Oscar, he was imitating the moment the first practice laps happened on Friday. And he closed his eyes and he said, I just heard it and I smelled it. And he went like this, like a chef closing his eyes, like smelling this, the cars going by. And it was like, man, it was so cool to just be around that, to be around those people, to hear their enthusiasm and experience it. That is what I'm going to take away from this. And that's why I get, we'll talk about everybody's experience. And I know my experience wasn't shared by everybody in the industry. I get that. But from my end, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire NASCAR career. Just amazing. Here's my rant.
Well, first of all, I'm humbled to be in your appearance. That you're such a global superstar, and you.
That's not what I'm saying.
Sit right next to this lowly co-host of a podcast. Thank you for blessing me. Appreciate that. Your experience, though, it seemed to be it was omnipresent throughout the grandstands this weekend. You saw a lot of different people just excited to be here. I mean, honestly, I don't know how many people who watch yesterday's race know the difference between Xfinity and Cup. They didn't care. They were just happy to be here and to watch Daniel Suarez win the race and then let alone win the race and all that. And I think while Ben won't say it, like you look at the metrics he talked about in a press conference right before the show, you look at the enthusiasm, and while things need to be tightened up on some levels, and there's certainly some first year kinks that went wrong, there is every reason to continue this and to think that this is going to come back for another year, as it should, because this was a popular event. The crowd here was strong today. There's opportunity to build off of this. The expectation going in here was we're going to have to basically treat this as one-on-one and introducing this sport to a population that maybe isn't as exposed to us as we want them to be. And then they're going to get excited by it. And then they're going to tell their friends. And then year two is really where you're going to see the impact of that. So it would be silly not to think that it's not going to come back next year. Your experience, other people's experiences, and the general enthusiasm and attention that this race garnered certainly point to that.
Yeah, and the Mexican fans that I talked to, they said that as well, right? Like they said for them, they're big NASCAR fans, right? And so it was no brainer for them to come. But they also said like a lot of their friends are like, "Why are you going to this thing?" Like, we talked a lot of the tweet up about how Mexican fans are open wheel race fans, and they have grown up with Adrian Fernandez and Formula style racing. They love F1. They love IndyCar. They talked. They said their guess of the tweet up was that Pato Award is 3 times more popular in this country than Suarez, and that Suarez is known among some of the hardcore race fans, but he's not widely known. They said that seeing Suarez win yesterday, personally for them, several of them were talking about how they had no voice today. One had said that I interviewed for my article about how he cried yesterday as much as circumstances would permit in a situation like this. And that meant so much to them. And they said that they were noticing, I was asking how much did it resonate with the media that they follow in Mexico? And they were talking about how some of the news accounts and the pop culture accounts that they follow on social media in Mexico that don't normally ever post about motorsports, they were posting yesterday about Suarez winning the Xfinity race. So it was a big deal here in the country. And they were saying that's the kind of thing that, can only generate more next time NASCAR comes back, where, they said, look, we talked about the billboards. There's billboards everywhere here, right? And there's subway ads, and they did a great job with the promotion. But the fans I was talking to were also like, yeah, but there's a lot of people who are just still like, what is that? Like, and a lot of people say we don't like oval racing. Even in IndyCar, they'll watch IndyCar and they say we don't like the ovals because they're road course fans. That's what they've grown up with it, and so they feel like this is something that can be built off of rather than saying this. I think the attendance was disappointing today. I think it was very disappointing today.
Really? I don't think so at all.
I do. I don't think that was. I think that was. I thought the stadium was going to be full. I thought there was turn one looked good, but I think there was an expectation for way more to start. And some of the Mexican journalists, we talked to, they felt that the ticket prices are too high for this economy here. I think it was $60 for the cheapest tickets here, and they say you can't do that here. That's not going to work here. So now NASCAR doesn't set those prices. OCESA, the promoter, sets the prices. They have to pay NASCAR the sanction fee and all that stuff. So they're obviously trying to get their money back, but I think OCESA may have overestimated the fan interest in terms of paying that money. So had they made it more affordable, a lot of people talk. Formula E came here and they packed the stadium section, but the tickets were only $10. So, I'm not saying that they need to be $10, but I think you could add more fans for that. But so, again, it's something to build on, and it's something to grow on. I think there's a lot of, it's a huge F1 track. I wasn't expecting an F1 crowd, but I was expecting more, I think, than we saw today. But again, this is the first step, and NASCAR has left this market since 2008. They have the NASCAR Mexico Series, but I had fans showing me on their phone today talking about, hey, I went to this race. I went to the Xfinity race in 2006 here, and I became a fan, and because of that, and I'm still a fan today, and I came back, and here's a picture of me as a kid. Now I'm back. And so think about people who are young now that came today, and they go, wow, that was cool. And now they're going to start following it, right? It's such a long game.
That's why I wouldn't get too hung up on what attendance was. And I talked to some people, and they were largely okay with attendance today, to be honest with you. They actually thought it filled in more than they expected. But that's why you almost have to treat year 2 as year 1, if that makes sense. And that this was like, you introduce yourself, and then you're going to come back next year. And at least there's a building block of, it's not a complete new thing. And Suarez winning is certainly something you can sell next year. And I think next year, let's just pretend it's going to happen.
Okay.
Next year is really the big thing, and that's going to give you a good indication of what the staying power of this race is, and if this is something that has legs long term. But you're right when you say, you have to look at a long term vision. That's what this is. This is a 2, 3, 4, 5 year thing, and you hope to get an inroad, and where this is a staple on the schedule, because they're sponsors, they're team sponsors that want to be here. TV wants to be here. You're silly to basically turn your back and say, we don't want to be in the 5th largest city in the world. The logistics are tough, and we're going to probably talk about that. And there's some things that need to be done differently to help that out. But you need to be in this market. This is too big of a market to ignore.
Yeah. By the way, I just remembered as I was looking at myself in the screen here as we're on the live stream, just to underscore the point that it was not, I just want to emphasize, it had nothing to do with me out in the fan zone. People, they're like, what's your name? And I was like trying to show them my hard card so that they were like, had no idea.
So you're showing off like, hey, I'm so famous, I've got my own, badge kind of thing. It's not easy being you.
Anyway, it was just listen, I came in with some of the same anxieties that other people had, whether it was going to go well, whether it was going to go smoothly. I've just, my expectations have been exceeded in every way. So, now the race itself, it was a total blowout domination.
But the third stage, I thought the first 2 stages were fine. And then you got that caution in the third stage with Hocevar there and Trap Ty Gibbs back in the pack. And then it just flipped everything. And it was, basically SVG's race to lose at that point. He just blew everybody's doors off. But I didn't think the race was bad up until that. I don't think it was a bad race, but it was up until that point, it was pretty entertaining. It was certainly setting the table to be quite chaotic.
Yeah. So I have more Mexico thoughts. So should we do the race first? And so
we're already on this topic. Might as well run with it.
Give people a break from Mexico, or you want to talk about?
No, you're already on it now, so just run with it.
Okay. Well, we all got here, and it was sort of like, okay, first of all, to start the weekend off, there was travel woes for some of the teams. There was one plane. And by the way, let's be really clear here, because I've seen people on social media that were blaming the teams for not arriving till late, that were on that charter flight. I don't think people understood that this wasn't the usual weekend. So NASCAR said, teams, you're not going to bring your own planes down here. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the whole industry on charter service that we will arrange. I think it was 4 planes leaving from the Charlotte airport. Everybody show up to the Charlotte airport, you'll get on these planes, right? And you'll fly down. One of the planes had, I think there's two planes with problems. One of the planes though was on takeoff, and from our understanding was going approximately 160 miles per hour at the time, had its nose ready to lift off the ground, and one of the engines blew. Yeah. This was the plane that Shane Van Gisbergen was on, among other people. Very scary situation there. Obviously, that plane, thank goodness the pilots did not try to take off. They slammed on the brakes, right? Everybody heard a pop, I guess, on the plane. And yeah, you already hate flying. So yeah, that was a really scary situation. Well, all those people that were on that plane then had to find their own way down. And so the schedule ends up getting changed. Xfinity, instead of having their full practice on Friday, they had no on-track activity Friday. Their whole thing got moved to Saturday. And then Cup got moved back to allow people to arrive, such as Shane Van Gisbergen, who arrived just hours before Cup practice on Saturday. Now, again, that's not the team's. But you can't say, well, the teams, why didn't they should have planned ahead or gotten there earlier, taken an earlier flight. Just, it wasn't, they were scrambling just to get, you saw Haas, I think they had a problem with their paperwork. Yeah. And so they had to drive to, now it's not NASCAR's, fault necessarily, but something got mixed up and they had to drive to Atlanta to take a flight here. Ryan Ellis had to fly to Miami, on like a red eye, and then spend the night, sleep an hour and a half, then fly from Miami here, all this crazy stuff. So again, that's not ideal. That's the kind of thing that soured, I think, some people's experience. I didn't have that experience. I'm speaking about my own. I understand why they get here and they're like, this stinks. I can't, this was a hassle. We shouldn't have had to do this, all that kind of stuff. I get that. And I think that's, something that NASCAR can address for next year, the travel woes, but that's one part of the weekend to start off, I guess.
Yeah, and talking to a lot of team leadership this week today, you're kind of looking ahead and saying, if you do this next year, what is something you want to do? And the teams would almost universally like to handle their own accommodations. NASCAR kind of took this in-house just because they thought it'd be easier this way. And it's not easy to fly private jets down here. You've got to use a separate airport, that kind of thing, which is much further out. And so logistically, they're trying to consolidate everything and just make it as streamlined as possible. The team's philosophy is, listen, we do this 38 times a year. We book travel. Yes, it's not international, but we book travel. We know how to do this. Let us handle it. And then we know what we need to do in terms of accommodations and things like that. And so there are some things that need to be smoothed out on that front. And I think you're going to see that if NASCAR comes back next year, and that's certainly one element. And then the hauler drivers too. There were some things that went on their journey down here, and they had a long road. I mean, they really it was a tough thing. I mean, a lot of them from the Cup Series came from Michigan all the way down here. That is a huge grind, and then they got to turn around and go back to Charlotte, and then right back up to Pocono. And so there's a couple things there that can be hopefully made a little bit more accommodating for them. And the other thing, and Ben kind of mentioned it a little bit, was you look at the schedule, and man, an off week either before or after this race would go a long way to kind of help alleviating some of that pressure on the teams and everything. But when you look at the schedule, I just don't know how you do that.
So once we got here, a lot of the hotels were in a very, very nice area of town. Ours was the closest comparison I would have. We were right next to the American Embassy, first of all. Yeah. So actually our hotel, the American Embassy was on one side and the Shake Shack was on the other side. To give you an idea of there was this image of like, we're not going to go outside our hotels and all this stuff. Right. And we walked around freely. There was in our area of town. We personally felt like there was no safety issues. I walked around for 90 minutes by myself the first day. Beautiful area.
I worked.
You worked. Okay, great. You're walking down the street and it's like, oh, okay, here's this fancy restaurant. Oh, here's a Ritz-Carlton. Here's this beautiful park like Central Park with kids and families. You're like, okay, this isn't all right. What it's being made out to be, right? Last night, even Jordan here didn't want to go to dinner with me. That's fine. So I decided to walk 20 minutes at night by myself to this pizza place that had been recommended, and it was amazing. And I just thought, well, if it looks sketchy, then I'll call an Uber, I'll stop or whatever. It was all good. So, now I get, I've seen on social media, not everybody had that experience. I respect that. I'm just sharing my own. I'm not discounting anybody else's. I felt fine. Thought the city was beautiful. And the biggest thing about being here, Jordan, well, aside from the food, which was mind blowing, as we already talked about the tacos, the Mexican people were so welcoming and kind.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. Not that I didn't think that they wouldn't be welcoming, but it was like the opposite. Like I thought they were just like went out of their way just to be so nice.
Yeah.
Like they were so happy to have us here. They were like, I'm talking about the workers, the people at the hotels, the people at restaurants. When you walk into the track, there's all these, normally we walk into the track, right? And you social security and you flash your hard card and you just kind of like keep going or whatever. People at the garage entrance, you could tell if after the first day, I was like, oh, they're kind of like looking at you, wanting to say something. And they, buenos dias, buenos dias. And then you kind of realize like, if you're walking by them, they want to say good morning to you. Like, so you just walk by each security person, buenos dias, buenos dias. Like that's what they do. Like they're just very friendly and greeting everybody. I was naive and thought, I've been to resorts in Mexico before, like Cancun and Puerto Vallarta and stuff. And the hotel workers was that way. And I thought, well, that's just because they're at a resort. That's, of course, they're being paid to be nice to the guests. I didn't realize that seems to be more of like a cultural thing here. Like it's just, I tweet about this too, but you get on the media shuttle here, right? And I was on the other day. I slept in a little bit. You went ahead of me, so I was on a different shuttle than you.
I got here earlier. Got it.
You got here earlier. I got here earlier than you today, so I'll stick up for myself on that. Anyway, so I'm on this shuttle, and there's like it's waiting to drive the track, right? And one at a time, media people keep getting on. They're all Mexican people, and I'm the only American. And as they get on, people would say, buenos dias. And the whole shuttle, all the other people that are on in a chorus say, buenos dias. Like they say good morning. People say good morning back. And I tweeted about it. And one of the women from Fox Sports Deportes came up to me yesterday after seeing my tweet. She's like, yeah, I moved to, America 6 years ago. And it was such a culture shock for me because I'm used to just saying to greeting a group when I go in somewhere, because that's what we do. And I realized Americans don't really do that. And so I thought, wow, maybe we should be a little bit more kind and polite for that. So
I'm always warm and welcoming. I don't know what
You
your
are?
problem is. Yeah, I'm very friendly.
Well, I walked on. I thought after that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to be nicer to everybody. And then this morning, I walked on the 6:30 a.m. shuttle with a bunch of tired-looking crew guys.
Not a good idea at all.
And I almost said, "Good morning, everybody." And then I thought,
don't be the over chipper person.
"That's what I'm saying. It's like frowned upon."
At 6 a.m., I don't need to hear that.
That's what I'm saying. It's frowned. Anyway. I'm just going off. Sorry, I have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I know. I can hear. Cool story that I want to pass along. I think kind of symbolizes what this race meant to people here. NASCAR security came up to me after the race today, and he's like, "I want to tell you a story." And it goes from the Xfinity race yesterday. I went and I collected a bunch of lug nuts, and I went and he went and handed them to track workers, and the track workers were like just breathless. They're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. This is incredible." And they were like almost near tears. They thought it was like this cool thing, and it's just a lug nut. And it's not a big thing, you wouldn't think. And for them, it was the coolest thing in the world because to them, this was such a cool thing to be at and so special. And to me, I think that really symbolizes what this race meant.
Yeah, I talked to, it was interesting because I think, and Brad Perez tweeted about this too, like you had track safety workers, both Americans and Mexicans working together. NASCAR brought down some of the track safety workers. One of our friends we see at Phoenix a lot was down here, and they got to all work together and help the NASCAR Mexico Series and stuff. And that was a cool cross-cultural thing as well. So, it was just I really think like the Americans that I talked to today, they were like, man, this is awesome. Like, we're so glad we came down. One couple was from Tampa. I talked to a couple from Virginia, Texas, and Lisa from Ohio, like I mentioned. So, people really had a good time, and it was a different type of experience. The one thing I will say that the Mexican fans were not happy about, and I totally agree with them, was the merch. They thought the merch it sucked.
Like they didn't have enough options?
Yes, the selection. They're like, we don't have merch here, and we came with money to buy merch, and the merch options were so disappointing and so limited. They're like, man, NASCAR, like we would have paid so much, we would have shelled out money, and we didn't have the opportunity because the selection was so limited.
That's disappointing.
They looked at the stuff, they're like, oh, they wanted to buy their favorite driver stuff. Now the merch haulers didn't come down here, but the sort of the generic merch that they had, and then just a few driver jerseys, they didn't want that, or it didn't really appeal to them as much. So that's another thing NASCAR for next year, maybe bring some more merch, because they were like,
I'm really surprised.
Wanted to buy. Yeah. All right, should we talk about the race? Listen, I could do an entire podcast, as you guys can tell. Look at Jordan. He's just, I'm sorry. This has like been one of the coolest experiences I've had in racing. Like, I'm a jaded, bitter old man. And I'm pretty cynical, and I came in with an open mind, but I didn't know what to expect. And I'm just telling you,
it was a good event.
It was awesome. So I could go off about this forever. I
once
get it.
Once everybody got here, it was fun. And I will say they're largely, there was minimal security issues. I'm not saying things were perfect. I didn't hear any like horror stories, necessarily like horror stories. But it was you didn't feel at any time like you were in danger of anything. They did a really good job of this. And then once everybody got here, it was smooth. The shuttles ran on time. Everything was functioning. It's exactly how you were supposed to put on an event.
All right. Well, I can tell people are getting tired of this. So I guess we should talk about the race.
Yes.
Sorry, man. Sorry, everybody, that I went for so long on this. I do feel bad, but I was just excited. All right. So what?
No, Jeff, you're not jaded. You're boring. Michael Specs is my new favorite listener. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, buddy.
Okay.
How about SVG, man?
So here's the thing. I think that this is exactly what we would have thought all along. This is exactly what we thought coming into the season. This is why we both picked them to make the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't think that, there was, like it's taken him a while to get up to speed oval racing. I think he might have been off more than we thought, but he's had some good oval runs recently.
It also didn't help too that he obviously lacked experiences, but they didn't have speed in the race cars. We've talked so much about how Trackhouse didn't have speed. And so when you don't have experience Ross Chastain has the experience to make it better, SVG doesn't have that. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So, ultimately, the guy does exactly what we thought he was going to do all along. Visitor. I think that he could have won COTA, right? You would have thought maybe he'll win all the road courses, but this in particular, just like Chicago, right? A brand new circuit. Nobody else had driven on this specific circuit with the F1 layout before.
Yeah.
And it matched up to his skill set. And once he got out front, I think Ty Gibbs was going to be competitive with him. Unfortunately, Ty Gibbs was screwed by the timing of the host of our caution.
Yep.
And I talked to Ty Gibbs on pit road afterwards, and he was trying to keep a positive attitude, but I said, do you think you had something for SVG, or, was you going to just run top 2 or top 3 anyway? And he's like, no, I think we could have beat him. He felt like he could have. And based on how they were running earlier with the two of them, that seemed like maybe he was going to be the only car that could hang with SVG. And so it was unfortunate for him. He had a great run, and lost his track position after that. Ty Gibbs said he was about 10 seconds away from pitting at that moment. So he said if they had held the caution 10 seconds longer, he would have been able to make it. But
that's a tough break. And SVG, I asked SVG when he was running second there, were you kind of holding back? Could you actually pass him? And he's like, well, I was holding back a little bit. But then when I did kind of make a move, the cooling on the car and the brakes heated up and everything, and it wasn't the same. So it would have been interesting to watch how SVG managed that. And honestly, it would have been really interesting to see how Ty Gibbs would have managed that. We know how aggressive Ty Gibbs can be at times, and how coming down the stretch, if they're going head to head, I would presume that Ty is going to be, going all out for it. I think we would have saw a hellacious battle.
Yeah. And Ty Gibbs, for the second week in a row, can sort
Woulda,
of
shoulda,
sniff a
coulda.
win, right? Yeah. But SVG, I think ultimately once he obviously got it, and he won by 16 seconds, which was Steven Stump tweeted that it was the largest margin of victory in a non-fuel mileage situation since Jeff Bodine in 1994 at North Wilkesboro when he lapped the field. It was the largest margin of victory in NASCAR, regardless of the circumstances, since November 2009 at Texas. So this was a butt whooping, and this was the best road course racer in NASCAR, executing and doing exactly what he needed to do. Obviously, he had a fast car as well, but again, as we talked about, this is why, and it's probably not going to be the only road course win he has. I mean, wouldn't you be surprised if he doesn't win another?
No, I'm almost counting on him winning another one. But this is the era of specialization with how the schedule shapes up. You've got 6 road courses in general on the schedule, 5 of which are in the playoffs. If you're a team and you're thinking, man, we need our best bet to get in the playoffs is how. It's really going to be hard for us to do it in points because we're competing against all these bigger teams. What can we do? What advantage can we do? Go put a road course driver in your car and take your shot. And you've got a 1 in 5 shot to win that race, or you've got 5 chances to win that race. And in a way, this is what Trackhouse did with SVG. Is like, we're going to, yes, we want him to be good on ovals and we want him to continue to progress. But at the end of the day, it comes down to winning one of those 5 ovals or 5 road courses during the regular season. And if we can do that, we're punching our playoff ticket. And that is worth, as we know, millions. And it's just, that's how it is. And you even see it on like super speedways a little bit too, where there are certain drivers who are really good at super speedways. But now with Atlanta now being a drafting track and 2 Daytonas and plus the Talladega in there, you've got a better opportunity now to win on a drafting track as well. So this is a schedule now that has erased a lot of the redundancy. And because of that, it has become more fine-tuned to different kind of niches. Whether you're good on a short track or whether you're good on a super speedway or road course. And this just happens to play into SVG's strengths.
And look, I mean, I get people saying, I mean, Aaron Bearden pointed out SVG didn't even make the in-season tournament because he was 33rd in points, right? Going into this race.
Yeah.
33rd in points. And you're like, okay, now he's won. And I think somebody tweeted, I apologize, I didn't see who it was. They'd said he's the second lowest person in points to win their way into a race. Only Harrison Burton was to win their way into the playoffs. Only Harrison Burton was lower at the time they won. So, I mean, and so I see fans are like, man, this sucks. Like this guy's 33rd all year. But again, as you said, Jordan, the era of specialization. This is why Justin Marks hired him. And in that sense, as good as this weekend was for Daniel Suarez, I mean, this was a dream weekend for him, right? Like he gets all the attention and, the race is pulled off. He's able to bring everybody to the home country. And he has this unbelievable Xfinity win, which we'll talk more about. But like, then he gets this unbelievable moment, goosebumps, chills, all that stuff. And the next day he goes out and the guy he's potentially competing against for his ride to save his job in the Cup Series wins his way into the playoffs. While Suarez is a non-factor most of the day. And now it's like, man, I mean, if you're Suarez, how do you even, what do you do stepping away from this weekend? You had this moment and the very next day.
It's gone. I mean, it was always going to be that way. I mean, unfortunately, I guess your saving grace in this is Trackhouse decided that Connor Zilisch needs another year of Xfinity Series racing full-time. And if Connor stays in the Xfinity Series full-time, then Trackhouse has an opening on the Cup side, and then presumably Daniel would stay in that ride. But if they decide that Zilisch is ready to move up, and you could make a case either way, it's really hard to see. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The pathway for Suarez with Trackhouse just isn't there because SVG is now got as many wins as Suarez at the Cup Series. He's not that far. I don't even know what the new point standing is, but he may have passed him today actually, and then you look at this, he's got a contract for next year. Suarez doesn't. So what do you do? I mean, unfortunately, the reality is that Suarez is probably out at some point. To your point, Jeff, it's a tough pill to swallow because one day you're on top of the world and the next day it's like a stark reminder of, oh man, my future is it's looking bleak.
Yeah, I can't imagine that roller coaster ride. But in some ways though, like I also think, if you're Suarez and obviously you want to be at the Cup level, right? But I think the Xfinity win is sort of a reminder of like, oh yeah, like, hey, I can go down into Xfinity, I can win a race, I can still, it doesn't mean his career is over.
It just probably needs a reboot.
I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah,
we've seen
absolutely.
Reboot. But I mean, would you rather, if you're Suarez and it doesn't work out at Trackhouse, and obviously like we talked about all year, it's been Penske, Hendrick, Gibbs, right? And then maybe you see Trackhouse sprinkled in, maybe you see Spire sprinkled in with running well, but nobody else is in the ballpark of the big three for the most part. 23XI has their moments, right? But do you go, okay, well, let me just try to hang in Cup somewhere, just anywhere, or do you say, hey, I could go down to Xfinity, I could win races, try to win a championship. So yeah, I mean, I was talking to, again, some of the Mexican fans of the tweet up, they just want to see him win.
Yeah.
They just want him to be able to have somebody to root for. I mean, as you said, I mean, the guy, he was 30th in points or something. I think
Suarez is now 28th
in points. SVG's up to 30th.
Yes.
So SVG is ahead of Brad Keselowski in points.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
That is crazy.
Wow.
10 races to go until the regular season is over. And
wow.
Brad Keselowski's behind Ty Dillon in points now. Brad Keselowski is 32nd in points.
Whoa.
Man.
That's a tough year.
Unbelievable.
A lot of bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Suarez's situation, and it's really easy to become forgotten if you aren't with a contending team in the Cup Series. And that's why if I'm him and I look at the situation, maybe it is more advantageous to go down to the Xfinity Series for a year, win races, contend for a championship, and then you look ahead to free agency a year from now, it's going to be absolutely crazy. Like there are so many openings next year with really, really good teams, potential openings with really, really good teams. Put yourself in a candidate, though. Go down to the Xfinity Series, win races, remind people that you've got the ability to do this, instead of going to maybe a smaller team in the Cup Series and you're struggling to run 30th every week. That's not going to serve you well. And if you look at the situation right now in the silly season, currently, that's your only opportunity, is because there really isn't a good team right now that has an opening for next year.
Yeah. Let's talk about that Suarez win though, because I mean, in qualifying, he's driving for Junior Motorsports and stuffs it into the tire or the Tech Pro barrier at the entrance to the stadium section. By the way, I know I won't say much more about Mexico, but the stadium whole environment.
We need more of that. So I was talking to some NASCAR leadership this weekend, and we kept talking about the stadium, and I'm like, whatever you guys do going forward, whatever new road course, wherever you go, you need to make sure they have a stadium section that has part of it cut right through, the track cut right through. It's incredible. It's awesome.
Dude, the pop from the crowds, they had one of the biggest screens that I've ever seen, probably the biggest screen outside like Big Haas and stuff that I've ever, like a biggest temporary screen, I guess, that I've ever seen. Massive. And so everybody in that stadium area was watching the screen. And anytime something would happen, you could hear the fans, like from the media center sometimes. They would just be like, oh, like people, like anything that happened on the track, any sort of like big bumping moments, just like the Mexican journalists in the media center too, they would react. They would be like, whoa, like there was some big vocal reactions to the NASCAR style of racing, right? But the fans seemed to like that. Anyway, so Suarez going into that area, wrecks his car, and you're like, wow, what a choke job, essentially, right? Like, I mean, this is the worst possible case.
Luckily, they had the provisional in place.
Yeah, right. That's the international provisional. You would have missed the show, basically, right?
Yep.
So anyway, they're able to pull out the backup car, and Xfinity, you're not allowed to have a fully decked out paint scheme on your backup car, so they had to put some labels on it. Didn't look great, but he starts at the back, becomes the first driver in NASCAR history. I think this is Seth Egert's stat. In any of the 3 series to start last, not drop to the back, start last, but have your starting position last, and win the race from last place on a road course. The first driver to ever do that on a road course in any of the 3 series. and he did it at his home race. Really just, I mean, I literally got goosebumps because I went out with a few laps to go, as did you, I think, to the stadium area I want to hear the fans, you know, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, they were just so into it and so just screaming so loudly, like it was a rock concert, right? And when he won and got out of the car, it was just, man, what a sensational moment.
What stood out to me with that, yes, to all of that, and then what also stood out to me was the reception among his peers for him winning. Like you know, Suarez isn't popular among his countrymen and women. It's his other drivers. I mean, Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., many others, all were very enthusiastic in supporting him and encouraging him, and they were so happy for him. That was really neat to see. It's nice to see feel good moments, you know, every once in a while. And like Dale Earnhardt Jr. was out there, and like he was just beaming, like it's his car, and he was like taking this in. And I said to him, I said, "Man, you've had a lot of moments like this. You know, you take the lead at Talladega, and people are cheering your name, and you've won a lot of emotional races and that kind of thing." And he's like, "This tops any of them," you know. And that was really cool. I mean, it was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, he said that was unlike anything he had been an experience that he had. Yeah, I mean, I think that this race, you know, with starting in the rain, I still wish, Jordan, that when NASCAR goes to the what?
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
What? Like, okay, the race is starting.
Yeah.
I'm standing. We're getting ready to see lap 1, right?
Yeah.
The rain, of course, NASCAR style. It like almost the exact second, as I was standing in the stadium, the exact second the race goes green, finally, after all this hype and buildup, it starts raining. You're like, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was okay with that. I'm like, okay, cool. And I thought back to last year after I thought NASCAR kind of had loosened its rules a little bit in terms of letting the teams decide how they were going to do strategy. I'm like, okay, this could be an interesting element, right? Because it wasn't like a hard rain, but it was just enough to throw a wrinkle at everybody. And then they throw the caution. I'm like, no.
Yeah, but right as they're coming into the stadium for the first time, they throw the caution. Now it was wet, but okay, like you could say, hey, there's rain.
Yeah.
Pit now or slow down or whatever you need to do.
Manage it.
Like just let the teams make their pit stop. If you need to declare wet weather or whatever to turn on your flashing lights, just tell them on the radio.
Yeah.
Hey, they just said turn on your lights.
Yeah.
Okay, do it. But like, I don't think they need to parent them like that or just let them, because some of them would have said, hey, I'm going to try to do a few more laps or whatever.
Well,
some of them would have pitted immediately. You would have had this and let them show their skill and their talent and take a gamble or crash or whatever. Like
let them make the choice of how they want to conduct themselves, and then they have the consequences of however they do it. I 100% agree.
Yeah, I get on the oval still, you know, it's because it's still a little bit newer type of thing that you need to have them, you know, say, okay, you can change your tires now, but like, I don't know, I don't think you need to throw the caution. Just say, hey, we're on a road course. You have the option to come take these wet tires. If the rain gets too heavy in a downpour and you can't see like a Coda that one year.
That's a different story. That's a safety issue. Then you stop the race. This is you want to manage your tires. And Austin Cindric is a perfect example of that. He was like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to take the track position here and manage my race. And he didn't pit like lap 41. Yeah. So that's fine. That's great. And if you want to come in and you feel like you need tires, okay, let it play out naturally. That's how these races should unfold.
Yeah. So Michael McDowell, you know, he was very confident that he was going to win this race and have a good day. It didn't quite turn out the way that he wanted. But Jordan, you know, we talked about our playoff predictions earlier, and both you and I had Michael McDowell making the playoffs. I'm bringing him up because he jumped. Now, he finished 5th today, but he jumped 7 spots in the standings. He is now 16th in points. Now, that is not good enough to be in the playoffs, as Josh Berry, who's won a race, obviously, is 19th. So I think McDowell is like 1 or 2 spots short. I think he's 2 spots short because I think Priest is the first one out. Buscher's the first one in. Priest was, you know, he had a good day stage points wise. He was going to have a better day. He drove through 3 pit stalls. I talked to him briefly afterwards, and he said, man, you know, car was fast. He qualified 2nd, but he said, I just want to go see that video. I want to see the proof that I did that. He then went straight to the NASCAR hauler, and I believe he was shown that video.
I mean, video don't lie, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like
I mean,
they're not going to call it penalty unless it's obvious.
Yeah, well, from that system, for sure, it flags it. They look at it, and
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. So
yeah,
it's
unfortunately
tough.
for
But
him.
he did. I mean, saving grace for him, he did get 10 stage points. That helps.
Yeah.
He's 19 back now of the cut line, but it's going to be. But that cut line is going to move. And the one guy who had a really bad day today too, Kyle Busch, 37th place finish. Not only did he finish last in this race and lost a ton of points, SVG won and now moved that cut line up even further.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't think about SVG. Just happened as I was looking at Josh. Oh, Josh Berry's out. Yeah, SVG also. Sorry, I'm getting used to that because as we've talked about all season, most of the winners have been right around the top 16 points. Somebody else that had a bad day on that cut line, Jordan, that's not even really in the playoff picture now and was firmly in it a few weeks ago, was somebody by the name of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Man, 2 out of the last 3 weeks now, he's gotten Hosevard.
Yeah.
And he is not happy about it. You were there on the scene afterward. What can you tell us?
So he got my assignment was keep an eye on the Hosevar Stenhouse thing. So I go do that, and I find Hosevar's car. I didn't see Stenhouse, and so Stenhouse was behind him. And all of a sudden, Stenhouse comes walking down. It's like, oh, he's there quick. And he didn't let Hosevar get out of the car or anything. He just leaned in. They had a conversation. And, Ricky basically told him, when we get back to the States, I'm going to beat your ass. That was
smart move, by the way.
Yeah, don't cross the international
to not get yourself arrested in Mexico and find yourself in a Mexican prison while everybody else in the industry leaves for assaulting somebody. You don't know the laws here.
No, I'm going to steal a joke off of Twitter, and I don't know who credited it, but it's true. It's like, remember Mike Harmon a couple years ago said to meet me at the Applebee's? Is this now like meet me at the Charlotte airport? If you're Ricky Stenhouse Jr., like, I feel like we should be there tomorrow whenever these planes land just to see how this goes. Or my opinion is this: if you're Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you go home and you find your camouflage shorts that you had on from the Kyle Busch incident a year ago. I'm wearing those in the Pocono on Saturday morning and just letting everybody know I mean business, because when Ricky puts on those shorts, fists are flying.
Here's the problem for Carson is they had their incident, right? And then it seemed to have gotten to the point where at Michigan last week, Ricky was like, hey, it does us no good to get into a back and forth. I'm trying to still make the playoffs. He's trying to still make the playoffs. If he does it again, we're going to have a problem. But for now, we're going to be all right. And so it seemed like Ricky kind of backed off. Now, I don't think Ricky is going to like being put in a position where it looks like he is all bark, no bite. You know what I mean? That's why he waited. He waited there for Kyle Busch, as you captured in your famous video, right? Like he's going to look bad in his mind. In Ricky's mind, he's going to say, well, now if I don't follow through, I said, okay, I'll listen to this, and it doesn't do us any good. But if you do it again, now he did it again, and now he's been captured on audio. The NASCAR man, whittled down. It was NASCAR man did such a good job taking out the background noise that they played it on Prime. Good job, NASCAR man, RR. Anyway, so it's you could hear like he's telling Carson and Carson's like, yeah, I screwed up. But it doesn't matter at this point because Ricky, even though Carson is way taller and Ricky's going to have to, get some reach there to do the punching.
You punch him in the stomach once, he, keels over, and then it's game on.
Okay. Do you think this is going to happen in private or in public?
I hope it's public. Let me know. I'll be there. I'll film it. I hope it's public. I mean, if I'm Ricky, I'm literally wearing my camo shorts, leaning on the hauler on Saturday morning when garage opens and Carson's walking in. Just like send a message.
I mean, the problem is if you just premeditated assault somebody, that could be a problem for you legally.
No, because as The Athletic wrote a few weeks ago, NASCAR security has protocols in place, Jeff, where they tell local law enforcement each week, we will handle driver confrontations. Please don't get involved if there's a confrontation among drivers, because we are going to police it ourselves. So no, and I don't think Hocevar is going.
That's a little bit different.
No. Let me ask: if this happened as we're envisioning here, do you think Coach and Hocevar is going to press charges? Come on.
No, I get that. Yeah. All right.
Can we quickly though give a shout out to Josh Berry? Like the absolute best reaction.
Oh, just standing in the
Just
background.
he sees what is going on. He sees Ricky Stenhouse Jr. walking over to Hocevar's car, knows that, oh, this is going down, and then just casually like leans on the railing, like, okay, yeah, I've got a front row seat for this. I'm all here for this. This is so good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Carson, obviously it was an accident. He wheel hopped and
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, but he
just
loses
you
the benefit.
can't-
He's got no benefit of doubt.
as Ricky pointed out, he's a lap down there.
Yeah.
So, you know, and speaking of benefit of the doubt, the other part of the Carson thing we referenced earlier, the caution.
Yeah.
So we asked NASCAR why the caution there. What was the reason, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
oh, go ahead, you.
Yeah, well, so Jusan Hamilton explains that he's, you know, on a road course, he's watching the dots, right? You
Yep.
can see the dots of every driver. He sees Carson has stopped, and they try to hold the caution as long as they can from NASCAR's perspective is their explanation. They see the leaders are coming. They're on their way. And so the dots are going to indicate that there could be a collision.
The
They
three
can
corners
also
away.
see him,
Yeah.
you know, he's trying to fire it up a little bit. In their view, they need to throw the caution because it could have been a dangerous moment for the leaders to plow into him. Also, we said, well, did you view it as intentional? Because, you know, the garage, I talked to people in the garage afterwards, they're like, it's Carson Hocevar. He's trying to bring out a caution again. He should get a 2-lap penalty for that, right? NASCAR's view is it wasn't intentional. And their reason is that when they look back on it, they feel like if it was intentional, he got lapped in that moment. And so they felt like if they had thrown the caution right before the leaders got there, and then he immediately fired it up and drove off, that would have been a sign like, oh, maybe he could have done this sooner. However, he then gets lapped right in that moment.
Yeah.
They throw the caution, the leaders end up coming by, he gets lapped, and he never gets his spot on the lead lap back. So they felt like that was sort of proof that, you know, if he was trying to do it to stay on the lead lap or whatever it was, I don't know. So that's their explanation.
Yeah, the theory is again, like if he was trying to stay on the lead lap, he would have moved a lot sooner, but he didn't. So to them, that gives indication that he didn't do this intentionally or not. So I mean, his day was shot anyway at that point. So like maybe you don't, you know, just let it go.
I don't know. For me, I kind of felt like he was trying to roll backwards a little bit. And they saw him, you know, you could see the flames coming out a couple times, and sort of like when Riley Herbst came across the track at a bad time that almost caused a collision with Stenhouse.
Man, that's scary.
You know, it seemed like it looked like Hocevar needed to roll backwards a little bit to get going again, maybe. Yeah. And maybe NASCAR was like, whoa, because there was another moment too. Who was it was it Ryan Truex that caused? Yeah, Ryan Truex had spun around.
Yeah.
And earlier in the race, and it looked like the leaders, or there was faster cars on the way. He was head first facing them. They chose to throw a caution in that moment. I thought that was sort of similar to the Hocevar incident, where they just could say like, all right, there's cars on their way in through here at high speed. You know, the spotters stands were not ideal this weekend. There's 3 locations for them, I believe. One location was shockingly low in turn 1. It was like below the first row of the grandstand. I'm sure they'll talk about that on Door Bumper Clear when Freddie gets back. But anyway, so like, you know, I don't think the drivers had a ton of visibility, and it could have been bad, but there's plenty of action though at this track. I mean, they had plenty of room to race. They had plenty of areas to pass.
The restarts were crazy.
The restarts were great.
Racing was good.
I think they just needed a couple. They didn't need to have Shane Van Gisbergen out front.
No, I mean they needed Ty Gibbs to stay out there. I think this would have played out much differently. I think you would have seen 2 very aggressive drivers start slugging it out, and then who knows where this goes. But once SVG's main competitor fell off, it was just his race to win or lose, and there was just nobody that was going to keep up with him.
Yeah. What else do we have to talk about from this that you have in your notes? Or
I think we've got everything covered. Yeah, we covered everything.
Let's do the good race poll, because Big Joe Wall that keeps score for us has sort of a wild
Did I win last week?
What?
Did I win last week?
You won last week.
Nice.
And so Big Joe Wall says we've now gone back and forth for 6 consecutive weeks of flip-flopping one or the other. Okay. So I'm up 10-7.
Okay.
Boy, this one is really challenging, and I'm not going to explain my reasoning first because I don't want to give you any hints. So I'm just going to guess first, and then we can explain our reasoning here.
All right, I have to use my old. Hang on here. All right, ready?
Wait, hold on. Actually, I changed my mind.
You probably just saw my thing.
No, I didn't. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay,
Ready? 3, 2, 1. 62 for you and 58.8 for me. So we're around the same range. What was your reasoning, Jordan?
I think people are going to focus on the end, and that it was a blowout. I mean, the guy, he won by 15 seconds, and I think that's what people are going to focus on. And road course racing right now with this car is not everybody's favorite cup of tea. So I think that's where it's going to go. To me, it was fine. I wasn't offended by this race, but I thought about going lower, but this to me is an average-esque score.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the race, I think stage 2, I saw some people going, wow, this is like one of the best next-gen road course races.
It was fun.
So here's another thing, complicating factor. I think as we saw on social media all weekend, there was a lot of people that just, the mere existence of this race irritated them, annoyed them, irked them.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a wild amount of people today that really wanted me to know in my replies that they were not watching this race. I am not watching today. I'm not interested in this at all. They should have never taken this away from Richmond. Which that one I was like,
you sure about that?
Yeah. Really? You're gonna all the criticisms you want to make, and you want to go, man, I wish we were at Richmond this weekend.
Yeah.
Richmond, that place really deserves 2 dates right now, and they should have never come to Mexico. And sorry, can you come up with something better than that if you're gonna take a shot at this whole experience? But no, I think that there's a lot of people that just, they didn't want NASCAR to come to Mexico. They don't like road courses. There's so many different things. And I think that was going to, no matter what, even if it was the best race ever, that was going to hurt the poll by probably 10% or something at least. Now, I do think Prime's coverage, the poll's been up since Prime took over because I think they present it in a really good way.
They did a really good job of focusing on different battles, really particularly in stage 3 when SVG was kind of asserting himself. And I was like, okay, something's going to have to happen here to him to lose this race. But they were focusing in on like Ross Chastain, and I think it was Eric Jones, and Chase Briscoe was in that mix. It was like, that was a really heated battle, and they focused a lot of attention on that. So they did a good job of, hey, this is exciting right now. We're going to show you the battle that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Sometimes you guys have noticed that Jordan can be kind of mean to me on this podcast, or
I mean to you. Okay.
Yeah, kind of a jerk, and
it's not the other way around. Okay.
Well, you've heard of Montezuma's revenge. Today is Jeff's revenge, because you know what Jordan Bianchi does not like talking about, everybody? He does not like talking about things involving
I don't want to talk about this.
The bathroom.
I don't want to talk about this.
See? Look,
it's gross. No, let's be adults here.
Well, it was an issue.
There was no issue.
Several drivers, including the race winner, did not feel very well.
That's fine. And it did not affect his performance at all. So it's a non-issue.
SVG said it was coming out both ends.
Good. I'm good. He won the race by
Noah Gragson said he was going to poop himself during the race.
This is disgusting.
Before the race, we were talking to Ryan Blaney, and he was talking about how he was not feeling so well this morning, had some incidents, I guess. And so he was a little bit concerned because he was wearing a white fire suit. I saw him after the race, and I was walking by him on pit road, and I said, hey, all good? Did you make it through without pooping yourself?
Who asked that question?
Well, I didn't say specifically. I just said, are you all good? Did you make it through? Pointing to my stomach. And he turned around and pointed to his butt. And he was like, I don't know. Am I all good?
You deserve a Pulitzer for this.
So here's what I want to say, drivers. Here's what I want to say. White fire suit in Mexico. Don't do it next year. If there's a return, don't. SVG said he tried to be so careful. He said he tried to really watch what he was, intaking this weekend so that he wouldn't be out taking.
Yeah, I got it.
And do you have it?
Let's just move on.
And so, but it still happened to him. And so fortunately we have gotten through so far. We both had ice in various drinks. That was okay.
Tequila kills every germ. We're good.
Well, I don't know about that. Noah, by the way, Noah Gregson was joking about the tap water part. He did not drink the water. He just ended up getting sick.
Oh.
It was not because he didn't know that you can't drink the water. Everybody knows. That was a joke. But yeah, so anyway, listen, Jordan, in the future, I think I have my kryptonite now. If you start being a jerk on the podcast, we can talk about bathroom stuff. I could tell you something happened with my kids, potty stuff.
That's like a double whammy right there. I don't want to hear about your children, and I do not want to hear about their bathroom habits.
Okay. Well, listen, when the race winner says that it was leaking out both ends or both holes, whatever he termed it.
I hope they put you on their website.
Oh, well, that wasn't my goal here. I just want to make you uncomfortable, but yeah.
Great. It's fun.
You seem uncomfortable.
My stomach's a little.
Oh, are you okay?
Nah, I want to talk about it.
Oh,
I almost got that right. Anyway,
whoa.
Yeah.
Tell us, Jordan.
No, it's getting a little. Anyway, yeah, good show, fun.
Hey, listen, I wanted to say one other thing. During the extra time that we had here, I finished Earnhardt, the documentary on Prime. And, I'd seen everybody post about it and all this stuff. Oh, it's so amazing, so amazing. And I was like, okay, I'm sure it'll be good. And it was like, I don't know. I just thought I'm sure it'd be good, but like, wasn't expecting it to be epic, like unbelievably good. All I got to say is if you haven't watched it, it's 4 episodes, each are about an hour. It's on Prime. Do yourself a favor. I think this is something that like my dad was talking about, by the way, happy Father's Day, Dad. My dad was talking about, he hadn't finished last episode yet because he wanted to watch it with my mom. Like I've heard from other people that like, actually, I think Bob was saying that his wife wanted to watch it. They watched it together. So like even it's so good that like
it brings couples together.
Well, the non-racing people in your life would want to watch it with you. It's really, really well done. So definitely check it out. There's so many layers to it, and it's just terrific. So
the footage they unearthed is crazy because there's a lot. Like you sometimes you watch these documentaries and you're like, oh, I've seen this video before. A lot of the stuff feels like it just gets the same stuff, right? This was fantastic. The stuff they unearthed and put together was incredible. It's like, I've never seen this. Where did you find this? So awesome.
Can I tell you about the porta potties here or no?
No, I got sick walking out of one this weekend. Like literally, I got nauseous walking out of one.
What happened?
It's just disgusting.
No, I was going to say the opposite. I saw more people cleaning the porta potty. Every time I went to a porta potty this weekend, somebody was cleaning it. They were sweeping it, and it was spotless every time I went into one at this track. I was like, wow, I've never seen this in my life.
Yeah, well, whatever thing they had in the garage area, the portable restrooms or whatever, I got sick. Well, I literally got out of there, and I got nauseous.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was not good.
Well, stay tuned for my bonus episode, other things I did in Mexico, because obviously I can't. I'm just kidding. But
I hope your wife doesn't listen.
Thank you for everybody, entertaining my earlier rant for like 37 minutes of show. I just had a great time here, a great experience. Legitimately, I would love to come back here. I hope people would, despite the hiccups in the industry or the bad experiences some people had. I hope people will give it a chance, because I just thought it was such a good thing for NASCAR and such a positive. And I think this is the first step for NASCAR to doing something really important, which is trying to get more international fans. I mean, imagine all over the world, there's probably people like we saw here this weekend that never had this chance to see it. And you're not going to take anything away from Americans by doing it. You still have 35 points races and 2 exhibition races in America. Yeah. A lot of them were within driving distance of each other. And people don't have to take 13 hours on a bus to get to the one race that they've ever had the opportunity to go to in their own country. Right. So really cool. Thank you to all the Mexican fans who watch this and watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, unbelievable. That was so cool to talk to all of you. Thank you for making me one of your amigos. Really appreciate you guys. and Pocono next
Pocono.
week. Sadly, to wrap up Prime's coverage already. Dang
know.
it!
Going by quick.
Oh,
By
I
the
hate
way,
that.
quick plug. We'll have something on Amazon Prime's coverage. I think you will have something too, right?
I'm writing about the burn bar this week coming up on The Athletic. So check that out. I also did 3 12 questions interviews this week here. It's had some extra time. So we've got Blaney, Chase Elliott, and SVG.
Yeah.
Coming
we
up
got
the
a
next
lot of
3.
we got a lot of cool stuff coming on The Athletic.
Cool. Well, everybody, thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on The Teardown. See you, everybody.